So I'm going to be making two announcements this evening, and both are of serious and substantive nature. The first relates to the publication of the stadium report. Now, for those members who are new to the council, i.e. those that were elected first time round in May 2018, you won't be aware that on the 4th of December 2014, the previous mayor announced the commissioning of a QC to undertake a review of the London Stadium and Newham's investment into London Stadium. This followed the publication of a report commissioned by the Mayor of London into the London Stadium issues, many of which are complex and broad and far-reaching in relation to issues of governance and investments by public bodies in what seem on the surface quite interesting, exciting commercial ventures. So today I'm announcing the release of the report concerning the previous administration's decision to invest in the London Stadium. The report, which will be published tomorrow, follows an independent review by Peter Oldham QC, and as mentioned previously, was commissioned by the previous mayor. The report, of which I've now seen and read thoroughly, helpfully tells us that concerns raised by financial advisors at the time, namely that a £3 million return on a £40 million investment wasn't achievable, and that was ignored. So while the council had legal powers to invest in the stadium, the final decision to invest £40 million back in March 2013 was flawed. Specifically, the council's decision was flawed because it wrongly decided that one of its own self-imposed conditions for investment, and this was the condition of an annual financial return of £3 million per annum, was met, despite financial experts casting doubt on that. So ultimately, that was £40 million of investment by Newham Council down the drain. Let's be clear. The vision for the stadium and the benefits it could provide was exciting. But frankly, the enthusiasm for the stadium's potential far outweighed the scrutiny that should have happened and which was required back in March 2013. If that scrutiny had happened, it would have highlighted that the limitations of the investment, because a key condition could never have been met. So the investment was significantly flawed because insufficient attention was paid to the detail when the final decision was made by the mayor and officers. For instance, there was strong and persuasive financial advice from the council's external financial advisors, Navigant, that the stadium deal, an investment of £40 million, would not lead to the return in investment claimed. Despite that, the decision to invest was made in its favour. When I became mayor, I pledged that openness and transparency in decision-making would run throughout the new administration. A vital part of that is strengthening our scrutiny measures, strengthening member oversight, and involving residents as much as possible in our decision-making. It is clear to me that there is a lot we can learn from this review on how transparency and good governance can be improved. For instance, assurances that were given back in 2013 to members by the then mayor and senior officers about the robustness of the investment were wrong. How can we, going forward, mitigate against that? The review also questions the use of urgency procedures, which meant that councillors and officers often did not have enough time to properly read and understand highly complicated and complex reports. Again, how do we, going forward, mitigate against that? It brings into question serious issues concerning scheme of delegation, lack of member oversight, and governance arrangements. What is it that we need to do to improve that? Why was there then no political and executive oversight by the then Mayor and the Cabinet Lead for Finance? These are things that we need to explore and improve. I want to read out one section of the report, which, as I said, will be published tomorrow. It's on page 18, paragraph 3, and it states the following. Given that Navigant did not believe on the information available to it, the Newham Legacy Investment, this was a company that the council set up and then invest in the E20 stadium, would receive a profit share of £2 million per annum, i.e. what Newham Legacy Investment would receive if E20, the company it gave the £42 million to, its overall conclusion was that the loan of £40 million was not value for money. Why was that advice by external financial experts ignored? I struggle to understand why the Navigant report did not ring alarm bells amongst officers considering the decision, the then Mayor and his Cabinet Member for Finance. The decision taken on the 21st of March 2013 by officers through delegated authority and urgency procedures was also not subject to call-in, so the decision could not be scrutinised by overviewing scrutiny. But more broadly, councillors were wholly excluded in the decision-making process. For me, it is quite wrong that an investment of this magnitude and profile had no member oversight or scrutiny whatsoever. Most of the decisions were also not made available to the public, to the press, and councillors broadly on the grounds of commercial sensitivity. This would have been justifiable for key information when negotiations were taking place, but it had the effect of limiting the transparency of the process, particularly to councillors who could have scrutinised but also maintained confidentiality. And there was also a lack of potential accountability created in the decisions that were made behind closed doors and delegated to senior officers, with input limited to a small group of elected members and the previous Mayor. As many of you will be aware, I have already started to introduce measures that mean this kind of closed and unscrutinised decision-making will not happen again. I will be delegating decisions to the Cabinet collectively on most issues. I will be making our scrutiny procedures more robust, and I will also be ensuring that members and residents are involved in a meaningful way in our democratic processes to ensure more accountability. Look, as a council, we should not be opposed to exploring opportunities that regeneration can present, but robust scrutiny and increased clarity are essential to prevent such detrimental mistakes being made again. Led by myself and the Cabinet, the Council will obviously continue to work closely with all partners involved in the stadium, particularly the Mayor of London and the London Legacy Development Corporation, so that all potential benefits from the stadium in future are maximised for Newham residents. But I will also be doing more. I was elected on a series of pledges, including cleaning up Newham. Overviewing scrutiny must proceed with its inquiry into the London Stadium investment and will benefit from examining this report, which will be published tomorrow. I would urge them to make sure that they do so in public. However, a much more broader review is required into the culture within the Council that has developed over the past 2 decades and which has enabled this form of decision-making and governance arrangements. So I will be bringing back proposals to full council in September, details of a process and the individuals who will be involved to undertake a critical piece of work for the future well-being of the London Borough of Newham. I will also be asking Audit Board to look into the implications of the report. And finally, I will also, in September, be bringing forward changes to the scheme of delegation and establishing a commission looking into the directly elected mayoral model and enhancing residents in decision making. Chair, that's the end of my first announcement. I've got